Good evening, saints, young saints, that is. I know some of you are of all ages joining for these, which is awesome. This is our bedtime story on Tuesday nights, and it's been fun to do this, and it's really challenged me to think about how I'm practicing faith in my home. And I think it's something that we're all thinking about. How are we passing on our faith, not only to our children, but also to our grandchildren, right? Like, how are we developing resources? How are we sharing the faith in our homes? And so I hope that this has sparked some conversation for you and your loved ones. If nothing else, it's you get to hear me talk. I guess that's kind of good. But it's been a lot of fun in our house, just kind of doing these things and reading Bible stories and being more intentional about it every night. And again, my favorite part is just having my kids bless me and bless baby Luke, and just the joy on their faces to know that they're loved by God and known by God. And that's something that I hope all of us know, not just our young friends, but everybody. So beginning our Bible story, before we get into that, just if you want to share, I'd love to hear. What are your happies and crappies, young people, or just anybody who's here? What's the good things and bad things that happened today, or maybe this week for you? And I know for me, one of the really cool things that happened was yesterday. We were outside playing in the morning, and I had some one-on-one time with my oldest daughter, Noelle. And she asked me a really interesting question, and it really has stuck with me. And she asked me if God was a boy. I said, well, what do you mean? She said, well, we always say, address God as daddy or father, and Jesus is a man. And I said, yeah, that's true. And she said, is God like me? And I had this moment of just pure fear. Like, oh my gosh, I have not done my job. And so we had this incredible conversation about how God is not just male. God is female and male. In Isaiah 66, God is talked about as a nurturing mother. And so we discussed this, my daughter and myself, and this light bulb clicked in my daughter. And she said, okay, so that's cool. So God is like mommy. And I said, yeah. And God is like me. And I said, yeah. And God is like my sister, Madeline. And I said, absolutely. And it's a reminder to me that I, as a parent and as pastor and at St. Mark's, always want to be talking about how God is gender neutral. God is both male and female, not one and not the other. We are all made, every single one of us, in God's image. And it doesn't matter if we have fingernails painted or we wear pink, which I love to wear the color pink. They'll always say, Dad, that's a girl color. And I'll say, no, it's not. It's just a color. We assign these gender things. And it's just been a really fun kind of conversation to have with my kids. And so the question that was asked, that I'm asking you, is God female or male? And the answer is, friends, young ones, God is both. And that's pretty cool. So just know that. The other thing we've been really focusing on is my kids have a real hard time calming down. I'm sweating trying to put my kids down because it's just a workout, right? And so we bought this book, and I promise we'll have our Bible story. But we bought this book, and I commend it to you. It's teaching basically spiritual practices to our kids. And it's called Breathe Like a Bear, Teaching Mindfulness for Young People. I honestly think it's good for anybody, but it's something that we talked a lot about in our household. How do you be mindful of your emotions so you're not just reacting? How do you be mindful of your breath? All these sorts of things. And so I want us to read this story, young friends. And we first take a breath. And I'll read this to us, okay? So it's called The Candle Breath. So we can all do this, old and young. So imagine you're holding a candle. Take a long breath in and slowly blow out the air toward your candle. You want to make your candle flame wiggle, but don't blow it out. Long breath in, slow breath out. Long breath in, slow breath out. Long breath in. Now blow your candle out. Something I think we need, not just young people, all of us, a sense of calm. Something that I know I'm trying to be as a parent, as a pastor, is to be that non-anxious person. It's hard, especially in these times, to be that. And so finding intentionality to focus on breath, to do these mindful exercises, I commend it to you. And so if parents, you're looking for something like that, just let me know, and I'm happy to send some cool stuff like that and resources for you. All right, tonight our story is the Good Shepherd. And so it's Good Shepherd weekend, and so that's what tonight's story is going to be all about. And Good Shepherd, of course, refers to Jesus. However, we're going to be hearing about a king called David, and young people, you probably know David and Goliath, that story. But David was much more than just a mighty warrior. He had good parts and bad parts, like all of us, right? We're all saints and sinners. So I want us to read about the Good Shepherd. Okay. Here we go. David was a shepherd, but when God looked at him, he saw a king. Sure enough, when David grew up, that's just what he became. And David was a great king. He had a heart like God's heart, full of love. Now, that didn't mean he was perfect, because he did some terrible things. He even killed a person. No, David made a big mess of his life, but God can take even the biggest messes and make it work in God's plan. I need a new heart, Lord, David prayed, because mine is full of sin. Make me clean. God heard David and his prayer, and he forgave him, and he made David a promise. I will make you great, David, and one day a king will be born into your family, and he will heal the whole world. Did you know that David was a songwriter too? In fact, his songs were so good, they might have been in the top 40 charts, if they'd ever been invented then. Some Bible humor for you. There you go. That's like a dad joke right there. David's songs are like prayers. They're called psalms, and this one that we're going to read is called the Song of the Shepherd. It probably would have been number 1 on the psalm charts, and it goes like this. Okay, can you all read? Okay. God is my shepherd, and I am his little lamb. God feeds me, she guides me, she looks after me. I have everything I need. Inside, my heart is very quiet as lying still in soft green grass in a meadow by a little stream. Even when I walk through the dark, scary, lonely places, I won't be afraid, because my shepherd knows where I am. He is here with me. She keeps me safe. God rescues me. God makes me strong and brave. God is getting wonderful things ready for me, especially for me, everything I ever dreamed of. God fills my heart so full of happiness, I can't hold it any longer inside. Wherever I go, I know God's never stopping, never giving up, unbreaking, always and forever love will go too. God gave David that song to sing to God's people so they could know that God loved them and would always look after them like a shepherd loves God's sheep. And one day, God was going to do something that would inspire thousands upon thousands of new songs. God was going to show God's people once and for all just how much God loved them. Another shepherd was coming, a greater one. He would be called the Good Shepherd, and the shepherd was going to lead all of God's people and God's lambs back to the place where they had always belonged, close to God's heart. Friends, that Good Shepherd is Jesus. And as much as that's always the Sunday school answer, right, the reality is this is the good news, that Jesus is that Good Shepherd that we all need. And doesn't matter how old we are, Jesus takes care of us. He's with us. He's for us. He goes ahead of us. He's there in the dark and stormy times. He's there in the good and fun times. My young friends, when we make messes of our life like David, God does not give up on us. just like your parents do not give up on you. Even though my kids frustrate me to no end, and I'm sure I'm not the only parent or grandparent that is, we love you. Your pastor loves you. And God's love, Jesus' love, is even greater. And that is the most incredible thing to me, to know how much I love my kids and to think that God loves them that much more. Friends, that is amazing. And it gives me hope for this world that we continue to live into that Good Shepherd's grasp and that we are carried by him in those tough times. And if that is where you need to be carried, great. Otherwise, we follow the Good Shepherd into the world, into the messes of the world, and we join with what he's doing. Okay, that is what I have for you. So again, we'll end with the blessing. And so this is, again, I shared with you my favorite thing that we do at our house before bedtime. And so if you want to bless each other, right? Blessing is not just reserved for the pastors, it's for everybody. So if you want to take a moment to bless each other, for those of you who don't have someone to bless, I will bless you. So receive this virtual blessing. You are God's child, claimed by the Good Shepherd, and always belonging to God. Amen. I pray, and this is a time, parents, for you to pray with your children. As I tell my high schoolers and my confirmation students, to everybody really, there's no wrong way to pray, and I mean that. There are some prayers that I'm inspired and they go on forever, and my wife will give me a little nudge. There are other times that I am so tired at the end of a day, which will probably be me tonight, that I literally will just say, God help me. And that's all I have energy for, and I do believe God does. And so young friends, just pray for what's on your heart. Don't pray for Miss America or for Mr. America, but pray for what is you are feeling and give it all to God and let go and let God. And then tomorrow we wake up ready for whatever the day brings. And so I pray you have a wonderful sleep and rest. Everybody, that we have a sense of calmness tonight that takes over, and we know that the Good Shepherd has got us. For that is true, and I know that to be true. Love you all.